Hey everyone, Ryan Badgley from the Barfly Tailgate Show, and football season is kicking off, and I know you feel like I do, so to steal a phrase from WWE superstar Daniel Bryan, yes, yes, yes! And I also know you are like me and you love the work Allen Robinson is putting out on the football field, but also off the field. That's why we're so pleased to partner with the Allen Robinson Within Reach Foundation. Their work provides educational opportunities and resources to low-income and inner-city Chicago students to help put success within reach. How can you help? Immediately you can visit allenrobinson12.org and learn more about what they are doing and make a donation. If you can't donate money, can you donate your time? The foundation is always looking for volunteers. And please let others know about their great work. In the coming weeks, the Barroom Network will hold some fundraising efforts, and we hope that you'll be a part of those. And again, let your family and friends know. Now, how about them Chicago Bears? I'm so psyched up for this season. I think A-Rob has 100 catches and double-digit touchdowns. Now let's bear down.
Draft on Tap with Bears Barroom draft analyst Danny Shimon.
And with Aldo Gandia, that's who I am. He is Danny Shimon. Danny, how are you?
I'm doing great, Aldo. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing well, and I bet you're doing great because you have been dying to scout this player, Sam Ehlinger. I mean, it started last season on our podcast series with you and Badge talking about Sam Ehlinger. You really, really love this guy as a junior, and I bet your mind hasn't been changed.
It feels like I've been talking about Sam Ehlinger for 2 years now. I don't know. It just feels that way. But yeah, I mean, as we continue this series in terms of scouting these upcoming quarterbacks for this 2020 NFL draft, Sam Ehlinger comes into this season as my top-rated senior quarterback. This kid has been, the minute he stepped foot at the campus of the University of Texas, he's been not only a leader, but he's been a very productive football player on the field. He's a 4-year starter. He's played in 36 career games with 33 starts. He set a school record for rushing touchdowns by a quarterback in 2018 with 16. He became the first player in school history to pass for at least 25 or more touchdowns and rush for at least 15 or more touchdowns in that same season. This is a kid, is a team captain. He's a leader. And when I put his tape on, the thing that, there are a lot of things that stick out for me in terms of the positives. But the one thing that just kept coming back is that this kid is a competitor. His football character for me is off the charts. He's a leader, like I talked about, team captain. This is a kid that wants the ball, in his hand when the game's on the line. When the outcome is in doubt, Sam Ehlinger wants to be there. He doesn't shy away from the spotlight, doesn't shy away from those big moments. He wants to be the guy that puts his team on his shoulder and carries them through, for a victory. And when we go ahead and break down his tape, in terms of his pocket in post snap progression, you see him going through a progression, going from left to right. You see him utilizing his eyes to be able to freeze and manipulate those safeties. In terms of his accuracy, he does a good job of in terms of ball placement. Allowing his receiver, putting it a spot where his receiver can go up and make a play on the ball. He's able to complete those tight window throws. And he's got a feel for the passing game. And what I mean by that is this is a guy that can anticipate and throw it to a spot and lead his receivers away from coverage, and a term what I call throw his receivers open. Now, we talked about him in terms of his prowess being able to run with the football. This kid had, like I said, 16 rushing touchdowns in 2018. He's a guy that he's not overly athletic. Some of the other quarterbacks in this class are going to probably be better athletes overall. But he's got that sneaky ability to be able to, he's agile enough to be able to sidestep free rushers in the pocket. He can break containment, get outside, also get upfield. And when he gets upfield in terms of as a ball carrier, he's got the ability to go ahead and run away from some linebackers and some defensive backs. And then when he finishes his runs, this kid will lower his pad level, will take on contact, and he'll run through arm tackle. So, there's a lot I like about this kid.
He's got a thick body build. I mean, look at
his lower half is really strong. Now, I think some of the downsides with him is there's some questions about his size and overall play strength in terms of his arm strength primarily. He's listed at 6'3" at Texas, but I think he's more in that 6'1.5" to 6'2" range, about 220 pounds. But like I said, Aldo, he's got a powerful lower body. He's a guy that can run through defenders at the goal line. You see him, a linebacker stepping up into the hole to play their run fits, and he just lowers his shoulder and he goes through them and gets into the end zone. So, he's got that type of toughness, that type of ability to be able to, plow through arm tackles.
All right, let's take a look at the tape.
Yeah, as we go to the tape here, this first clip here, I kind of want to show you his ability to read progression, go through progression, I should say, through the pocket here. As he gets the ball here, you notice he's going to look left and go right, 3-step drop, plants his back foot, and has identified his slot receiver. Jake Smith has crossed up that slot defender who's playing outside leverage, and does a nice job of getting the over-the-top leverage on the defender. He steps up in the pocket, drops a nice ball right into his arms, hitting him in stride. Now, if we play it back here from the end zone clip, the one thing I wanted to show you real quick here, the defense, if you take a look here, they're playing what looks to be man-to-man coverage with a single high safety that's shaded over to the left-hand side, to Ehlinger's left-hand side. So the first thing Ehlinger does when he gets the ball is he stares to the left-hand side at that receiver, kind of freezing that safety for a split second there. But he's probably already predetermined that he's not going to go here to this receiver. So but by looking there, he does his job of freezing that safety. And then as you go and let's play run, steps up in the pocket, sees that his inside receiver has got that leverage, goes and throws a nice deep ball, hits him in stride, perfect throw.
One more time.
Again, just his ability to go ahead and process in the pocket quickly. Again, this is a guy that's got the experience. He's got 33 career starts. He started his third game into his freshman season. This guy was a named starter for the University of Texas. So he's got all that experience. He's seen a lot of these things that defenses try to run at him. He's already seen and he's been through it. This next clip here, I just kind of wanted to highlight or emphasize his ability as a dual threat option. Here, as he drops back, he sees that the defense has manned up all of his downfield targets. He sees a big patch of grass just open up there in front of him with a blocker. So he goes ahead and tucks it in on a 2nd and 1 play. But at the end here, you see some of that competitive toughness here. He says, you know what? Forget, I got the first down. Let me go ahead and try and score this ball. So what he does is just lowers his pad level. He shows some of that contact power, some of that contact balance, and just goes in and runs through arm tackles at the goal line, plows it in for a touchdown. This is the competitive stuff that you see with him consistently on tape with Ehlinger. He's got the first down easily, but you know what? He's not satisfied with that. He wants to go ahead and get that touchdown.
Yeah, I like the fact that it's not like a predetermined decision to run. He really did look downfield, and it seems based on this tape that he really did make the decision that, hey, all of my guys are covered. There's some open grass there. I'm going to run. Right.
It's 2nd and 1. Worst case scenario, he gets just 1 or 2 yards. He gets the first down. They have a new downs there. But they say, you know what? I see a big patch of grass here. Let me just go ahead and try and tuck this ball in and get it through into the end zone for a touchdown. And he does just that.
And a nice little move there, huh?
Yeah, he got a little shimmy there to him there. See, I told you he's a little sneaky athletic here.
That's right. All right, next play coming up.
Well, this clip here, I just kind of wanted to show his ability to make tight window throws. Here we see him drop back, and he shows off not only his ability in terms of placing the ball where he wants it, but also some of his arm strength here, where he throws it to a spot where only his receiver gets to it. Now, this is a throw down the seam. These are NFL type throws that whenever I see him on tape, I like to highlight them and point them out to everybody. As we see the end zone angle here, we see him drop back. He's eyeing his receiver, throws a tight spiral into a spot only his receiver can get to it. Now, if you go back and take the overall angle of that, somebody might criticize him for throwing into what they call a heavy populated area. But it's 3rd and 10. They're already down by 2 scores, and this is last year's LSU team. So he knows that he needs to push the ball down the field here to try to keep up pace with LSU and that high-powered offense that was run last year by the Tigers. So does a nice job of placing the ball, like I said, a spot where only his receiver can get to it, into what many might criticize as a heavy populated defensive area. But he does a great job of getting the ball in there. So this is, again, me showing you guys him making what I call NFL type throws.
Man, it's a beautiful, beautiful throw. All right.
The placement is just impeccable.
Impeccable. All right.
And here, before you run this play here, I just kind of wanted to show you in terms of short yard situation. It's a 3rd and 3 here. It's late in the game. It's late in the 4th quarter. Texas is up about 2 scores. And this is where he can try and just kind of get the first down here and seal the game. What I want to show here is his ability as a runner can be a very effective extension of the run game. As we go in and run this play, It's a read option play. He sees that his tight end down blocks on the defensive end, sealing him off. That leaves his running back to deal with the outside contained defender who is late to crash down the line of scrimmage. So what he does is he just keeps the ball, gets skinny behind his blockers, and once he's into the open field and open grass area, he just goes in and tucks it into the end zone, showing, again, some of that ability to be able to run away from defenders.
Right. And don't be fooled by the upright running here. He usually runs appropriately with pad level lower when necessary, right?
Yeah, when he takes on contact, he will lower his pad levels and he'll run through defenders like we saw in that previous clip near the end zone.
Nice. Okay, what do
this
we got?
play here? There's a couple things I wanted to point out. This next play, I want to show you his pre-snap processing here. If we take a look here, it's a first and goal play. Prior to the ball being snapped, Oklahoma State has 7 defenders at or near the line of scrimmage, with an 8th defender, the linebacker, up in the box. So if this is an all-out blitz, there's 2 things Sam Ehlinger knows. First of all, he only has 7 blockers if his tight end and his running back stays in to block for him. So the defense has 1 more rusher than he has a blocker. He also knows that he's got one-on-one coverage on the outside from all 3 of his receivers. So now this is his pre-snap processing. And now as we go and run the play here, stop right there. He's eyeing that outside receiver who's basically just run an out route and is basically planted himself at the goal line by that pylon. By eyeing that receiver, what that does is that brings that defender to that receiver, allowing him more space and more of the end zone to be able to drop this throw to his slot receiver, Devin Duvernay, who was his primary read here. Drops it in nicely with timing, anticipation, and touch. These are throws, guys, we see NFL quarterbacks make on Sundays. And this is the one, where I wanted to show you. He processed the defense pre-snap and then knew where to go with the football as soon as the ball came out. And it does a nice job of using his eyes to be able to manipulate and freeze that defender, giving him more space to be able to drop that ball into a bucket there to his receiver. Perfect placement, perfect touchdown.
It is a gorgeous, gorgeous throw. I now realize why you like this guy so much.
And this is what I'm talking about. I mean, in terms of, NFL type throws, he's getting knocked in some of these scouting circles now for his size. There's questions about his arm strength. On tape last year, full disclosure, his accuracy was off a little bit. You see balls sailing on him. You see balls bouncing into the receiver. I don't know if there was an injury he was playing with. I don't know if there was some sort of communication issue on offense. However, when you take a look at a kid and his total body of work, that's just a one-off thing here. You don't see that in his other games and his other seasons. So I'm not sure what was going on there last year, but when you go back and take a look at him, he doesn't have the biggest arm in this draft class. He's not the greatest athlete. He's not, no slouch by far, but he's got enough athletic skills to be able to present, an option in terms of being a guy who can, make some plays with his feet as well. But he makes those NFL type reads and he makes those NFL type throws. And again, that really has me excited about this kid.
He had 2 really bad games last year. In September 23rd against Baylor, a game that Texas lost 24-10. He threw for 0 touchdowns, 1 interception, only 200 yards passing on 37 attempts. And then he had that game against TCU where he threw for 2 touchdowns, but 4 interceptions on 48 pass attempts. They lost 37-27.
Yeah, those hurt. Last year, the games I watched, Texas was really not giving him much time in terms of in the pocket, being able to come back there and kind of survey the field, entirely. And then there was times he was rushed. He rushes throws. And again, his accuracy was off last year. I talked about, some balls were just kind of sailing on him. I'm not sure if he was playing with an injury. Obviously, nothing was reported, or there was just some communication issue with him and the receivers. But yeah, there were some games that really looked bad. There was the Oklahoma game where his team was pretty much outmanned by Oklahoma, and now, of course, LSU. I mean, I think he was sacked 7 or 8 times, if I remember correctly, by LSU, and he was basically the only one that was willing him in that game. There was another touchdown pass that he threw that was dropped by his running back in the end zone. That would have been another touchdown. I think he threw like 4 or 5 touchdowns that game. Could have been easily 6 or 7 touchdowns. But again, he was carrying him versus LSU. But then just, you mentioned the game against Baylor, against TCU, just some games where he didn't look right. Again, I wish I knew if it was an injury or something that I could like, pinpoint and like, this is what it was. But unfortunately, no one knows other than anybody who's around that program. So we'll see.
He was sacked 5 times in that LSU game. Now, in that game against Oklahoma, he was sacked 9 times.
So that was what I was talking about. Yeah, I flip-flopped him.
Man, oh man, that is something. Now, you talked about his leadership, and that was on display after the season when he took responsibility for the the demotion of the team's offensive coordinator. Take a look at this report that was filed by a local TV station.
You got to understand that anything that goes wrong is on you. And so that's been something that I've been thinking about a lot recently is, all the games that we lost or the way that the season went. Ultimately that's on me, and ultimately that's my fault.
That is what you want leaders to do, to take responsibility, take a bullet and say, hey, this guy got demoted because I didn't play well enough. That's pretty impressive.
That's a sign of leadership. That's a sign of a team captain. That's a guy that you see on tape. You see guys, receivers diving all out to try and make a catch for him. You see that the team rallying around him when he's got the ball in crunch situations. So, this is a kid that it exudes that leadership quality. The minute he stepped onto the field at Texas, you could tell that this kid had something about him. He's a kid that the story goes that, as a little kid, he said he was going to play quarterback for the University of Texas. He's been a Longhorns man, ever since he was born. So he ended up, accomplishing that goal. And so far he's been not only a great leader, but has also been very successful on the football field as well.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing his senior year play out. Hopefully there won't be any interruptions with the pandemic. And there's a very good chance he could be a top 10 pick. Who knows?
I was really surprised he didn't come out this past season. Apparently he went to the NFL Draft Advisory Board and he was given a 3rd round grade, which surprised me, obviously. But again, there are things there that some scouts just don't feel comfortable with. And I think some of those have been, his size. They're not sure, in terms of does that play well in the NFL at the next level, and his arm strength. He doesn't have the greatest arm out there, but we saw some of these clips. He has plenty of arm to be able to make those tight window throws and get into those really tight areas in which he's got to get in between a defender, those tight windows.
Well, I'll tell you one thing: if at the 2021 draft, if he's available there in the 3rd round, oh my gosh,
I'd be shocked. I'll be shocked.
Yeah, I'd be super shocked.
Then I'll be like, what am I missing that everyone else is seeing? Because I don't see a 3rd round. I could have seen him maybe late 1st round. I could see him maybe early top of 2nd round in terms of this past draft.
Right.
I know I was high on him, more so than a lot of other people were. Right. But in terms of 3rd round, I really didn't see that happening.
Well, and if he drops out of the 1st round, then he should definitely be a target for Ryan Pace. Even if he gets the quarterback play out of Mitchell Trubisky in 2020 that we are all hoping that he gets. Like I said in our last episode of Draft on Tap, we have to replenish the quarterback pipeline, and therefore you have to invest some high draft picks or mid-round draft picks on quarterbacks and develop them, particularly if you've got the coaching staff that has the reputation of being quarterback developers, right?
Exactly. And it's funny you say top of the 2nd round because, when I watched Ehlinger play, now physically he's a little bit, thicker than this guy, but, Drew Brees, a guy that doesn't have the greatest arm strength, but a guy who does a good job in terms of post snap, going through his progression, reading the defense, throwing with, anticipating cuts and throwing it to a spot, throwing his receivers open away from coverage. That's a kid that's who Ehlinger kind of reminded me of in terms of, similar stature and all that stuff. So Drew Brees went at top of the 2nd round. So, if you get a kid like Ehlinger at top of the 2nd round, especially even if Mitch Trubisky has a great year and you decide to franchise him and you can't come to terms on a long-term contract, you have that franchise tag that you can put on him, playing for a year, bring in a kid like Ehlinger, bring in one of the other kids that we're going to highlight in this draft series here, and just, have him sit the pines and ride the bench and learn. And then if the price gets too high for Trubisky and he continues to, to show progression, like he's matured into a quality starter, then you can either trade him or let him go or whatnot. And you have a kid like Ehlinger or whoever else you draft to come in and hopefully take over. That's what happened to Patrick Mahomes in Kansas City.
if this is the first Draft on Tap on video episode that you're seeing, this is what we're going to do the entire football season. Danny is going to look at potential draft picks for the Chicago Bears. He's going to play the role of a scout for the Chicago Bears and analyze players from the needs of the Chicago Bears, talk about their pros, talk about the negatives, and talk about how they may fit into the Chicago Bears. And we'll be doing that in our audio podcast series with special guests and more special analysis. So we've got you covered. You know, the scouting business in football just never ends. It's a 11-month and 2-week job, right? Danny can tell us stories about the life of a scout, right?
Exactly. It's spending, over 260 plus days on the road, away from family, away from friends, constantly, traveling from school to school, making school visits, going over tape and all that stuff. Obviously things have changed a little bit in today's world with the pandemic. From what I've heard, scouts have been very limited in terms of what they can travel, where they can go, how many games they can attend, so on and so forth. So it'll be a little bit different. I think this year with the advance in technology, I think a lot of scouts are going to be doing a lot of their scouting from home, possibly, watching videotape and getting, film from the schools themselves. But hopefully we'll have some college football to talk about in the next couple, upcoming weeks, and we'll have some new fresh tape on some of these prospects, and we'll continue to break them down, as Aldo said, on Draft on Tap.
Danny, every time we're together, I learn more and more about this game of football. So I really appreciate working with you on this series. And which quarterback are we going to be looking at next in our series?
Well, we have Trey Lance, the kid from North Dakota State. Is a kid that really caught my eye last year as a redshirt freshman. Is going to be a redshirt sophomore, so he's draft eligible technically after the season. However, FCS has canceled all of football this season, so he will not be playing, except North Dakota State is having a game, I believe, against Arkansas Central on October 3rd. So there will be a one game where we can see Trey Lance play. Now, is that fair for the kid? I don't know, but I mean, I'd rather go on his tape from last year. His tape from last year shows a lot of promise in terms of his athletic ability, his physical skill sets. There are still some developing needs to happen there, but we'll get into that on our next draft series.
I can't wait. All right. Thank you all for watching. Leave us some comments. What do you want to see? What do you want us to talk about? How can we improve? We're here for you, the college football, NFL fan, and of course, Chicago Bears fan. We'll talk to you next time.